no way this just happened. The Atlanta Hawks had a meltdown in the fourth quarter, and they lose to the Portland Trail Blazers with key injuries on both teams. Welcome back to Hawks Digest. My name is Michael Kobrinsky, and as we dive into tonight's game, we've got to talk about the Hawks' final game of their West Coast road trip. Ultimately, they go in 2-2 on the trip, but it ends in disappointing fashion in a bad loss to the Portland Trail Blazers when their offense could not maintain some consistency, and when it mattered most in the fourth quarter, they simply couldn't put the ball through the net. But before we get into the detailed specifics of this game, I've got to tell you about this. Before we dive into the latest Atlanta Hawks news, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. And if you download Kalshi using the link below and enter code DIGESTNBA, you'll get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States. On their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much everything. Whether you're in California, Georgia, Texas, or anywhere else across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. Sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. And if we look at a relevant market with the Atlanta Hawks, Kalshi has Anthony Davis's next team being in Atlanta at a 6% chance. Now, with all the reporting that suggests that the Hawks are interested in Anthony Davis, that number does seem quite low. But with Kalshi, it's genuinely a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Download Kalshi with the link in the description. Don't forget to use code DIGESTNBA to get your $20 bonus. And thank you once again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. All right, so how did the Hawks really come to ultimately lose this game by 16 points? First, we're gonna get to some inside stats on this game because the box score can tell you a lot, but I think overarching stats inside the game are a little bit more important when it comes to this specific loss. The Hawks only scored 36 points in the paint compared to Portland's 52. Now, in this game, we knew points in the paint were going to be at a premium for this Hawks team. Donovan Clingan, a really good rim protector down low. The Portland Trail Blazers have a lot of good perimeter defenders. Drew Holiday, Toumani Camara is one of the best defenders in the NBA. And I think for the Hawks, they definitely had some trouble getting by that first line of defense. And even if they did, they had Donovan Clingan waiting for them by the rim. So Hawks definitely struggled there. They lost the second chance points 9-20. Clingan had 6 offensive rebounds in this game. And I think he had a pretty big impact, especially in the third quarter, later in the frame, when the Blazers made a run there. He contributed heavily in that run. The bench points, Portland had 55 compared to Atlanta's 34. Specifically for Portland's bench, Ryan Rupert and Caleb Love really had a positive impact for their game. And you look at the Portland bench, three of their players had more than 20 plus minus in this game. Love, Rupert, and Duop Reith in this game all had big impacts off the Portland bench. And the biggest one, in my opinion, is the turnovers and points off turnovers. The Hawks turned the ball over 20 times in this game and gave up 28 points directly off those turnovers compared to scoring just 12 off of Portland's 15. Because 15 turnovers for the Trailblazers is not a superb number. You want to definitely keep that lower than 15, but Atlanta's offense just was not good enough tonight. And some of that can be attributed to some injuries, because I mentioned at the intro video, both sides had key injuries coming into this game. Atlanta was without Zaccharie Risacher and Kristaps Porzingis in this game. And then for the Portland Trailblazers, Deni Avdija was out. Their best player, their best scorer, going to be an all-star this season. I think, in my opinion, he for sure has to be in LA in February over the all-star weekend. And as a result, even though the Hawks were missing 2 starters, they were favored in this game. They just could not get it done. Now, for Porzingis and Risacher, this is their 5th consecutive game missed. So definitely starting to be concerned. Risacher with the knee problems, and then Kristaps Porzingis with the Achilles tendonitis. Hopefully, when the Hawks return home to State Farm Arena on Saturday to face the Boston Celtics, both of those guys are back because the Hawks desperately need them. Porzingis with his size around the rim deterrence, and Risacher, he might not have the offensive season that a lot of people expected or that a lot of Hawks fans want him to, but defensively, he is better than V. Krejci, he is better than Corey Kispert, and that's one area where the Hawks desperately need length on the perimeter and a person who can guard multiple positions, and Risacher does provide that. But as we get back into the specifics of the game here, I want to highlight a few different guys in this game for the Hawks because I think there are certain stats for certain players that really can tell a lot about this game. First, we'll go to Jalen Johnson. In 38 minutes, he had 12 points. He was 4 of 9 from the field, 0 of 3 from deep, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 turnovers, the 12 points. Look, Jalen Johnson only took 9 field goal attempts in this game. I'll repeat it. 9 shots for your best player, for your all-star, all-NBA caliber player. That's just not going to cut it for Jalen. And also the 6 turnovers. He's just got to be more aggressive, plain and simple. And honestly, you can say the same thing about Nickeil Alexander-Walker. In 29 minutes, he only scored 11 points. He only took 6 shots, was 2 of 6. 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 6 boards, 7 assists, 1 steal. When your 2 best offensive players combine for 15 shot attempts, 6 of 15 from the field, the Hawks are not going to win a lot of games. And that's just what they saw right here. They had less than a 100 offensive rating in this game, the Hawks. Actually, to be exact, their offensive rating in this game was 97. They had a 111 defensive rating. That is more than enough defense to try to win this game. And on their winning streak on the West Coast, the 3-game winning streak, they had a great defense. Over in the Lakers game, we know that if you go back and watch the video that Chris just did, he can tell you all about how the Hawks defense absolutely crumbled to pieces against this Lakers team. That was not the case against this Portland team. This was an offensive loss for sure. And I think Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker's games embodied that. Now specifically for Jalen Johnson, in this game, I think he had a lot of trouble getting to the paint. I mentioned at the top of the show with the Blazers, Toumani Camara, Drew Holiday, Donovan Clingan hanging out by the rim, Jeremy Grant coming off the bench Denny Avdija is out, so he probably didn't come off the bench. But with Jeremy Grant's ability to switch and play great defense on multiple guys, I think Jalen Johnson really struggled getting to the rim, getting past those guys. And one thing that Portland did that I thought was really smart, whenever Jalen tried to get to the rim in this game, they sucked in their defense. They dug their hands to try to get in the ball, and it really disrupted Jalen. That's why he had all those turnovers in this game. I thought they had a good defensive game plan, honestly, for Jalen Johnson. So you got to give a little bit of credit there to Portland for sure. 2 other guys I did want to highlight in this game, actually 3. Onyeka Okongwu in 37 minutes, 26 points, 5 of 15 from 3. Yes, 15 three-pointers for Onyeka Okongwu, 10 of 21 from the field, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He did have the 4 turnovers, so Jalen and Onyeka combining for 10 turnovers, that is definitely not a recipe for winning here. And for Onyeka, the 15 threes is kind of, you can look at this from 2 perspectives. One is, okay, Onyeka took way too many threes in this game, and he definitely did. I would have liked to see him get some shots inside as well. But if he did hit, say, 2 or 3 more of those threes, I think you'd be looking at it in a different way. Donovan Clingan in this game was playing an extreme drop coverage. So he didn't contest on really any 3-pointers. And that's why, look, you could see the Hawks total right here. 14 of 44 threes. 44 threes is a lot of shooting right there. They just didn't hit a lot of their shots. And a lot of that came in the fourth quarter, which we'll get to soon. But yeah, Okongwu, offensively, it was kind of weird taking that many threes. I think he struggled on the boards against Clingan. Clingan had 6 offensive rebounds in this game. And during the third quarter, later in the third frame, when the Blazers were able to go on a run to take the lead, I thought Okongwu definitely struggled to keep Clingan off the glass there. Next guy I want to highlight, Dyson Daniels. He had 10 points, just 1 assist, and 5 rebounds, 5 of 9 from the field. Look, Dyson, during the 3-game Hawks win streak, was always in the paint. He was getting a lot of assists. He was kicking out to shooters, finding cutters. You saw his playmaking reach really an elite level. But in this game, only 1 assist, and he didn't spend a lot of time in the paint. And that's a lot. I think that's credit due to the Blazers defense with Jrue Holiday, with Kamara. And also, the Blazers just have a lot of length, so they take away a lot of those passing lanes that you think would be open. And that's why you had the Hawks with the 20 turnovers. And the different box scores in this one. This one says 18, the other one says 20. But whatever it was a high number. And I think those passing lanes weren't as open as they were against some of the other teams. And then lastly, I do want to highlight CJ McCollum. In 29 minutes, he shot 6 of 15 from the floor, 20 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. For CJ, one thing about this is for sure. He has not been shy in a Hawks uniform. Let me tell you that. He is definitely being aggressive. And honestly, Atlanta needs him to be aggressive. They don't have that shot creation off the bench in these bench lineups. But he's been playing the type of shots that he's been getting. They're not efficient ones. They're not in the flow of the offense. You can see him kind of relying on ISO ball a lot. And I think that's a result of just not, he hasn't fully meshed with his teammates yet, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The type of shots that he's getting are either slow paced. There are a lot of contested mid rangers, which the Hawks don't like to take. And I think that's why you're seeing some of the inefficient numbers from CJ. Even though he's being aggressive, which is good, you don't want him taking some of the shots that he is. And I think the contrasting play styles of CJ's slow, methodical play with the Hawks really trying to get out and run, be aggressive, constant motion. I think those play styles are kind of clashing right now. And hopefully CJ can get used to being on his new team. But those are the individual guys I want to highlight for the Hawks. One guy I want to highlight for the Blazers in this game is Shaedon Sharpe, because he had an excellent game in this one. And he had 24 points. With Deni Avdija out, we knew the Blazers were going to go to Shaedon Sharpe a lot for shot creation, for his slashing ability. And after he hit a couple step-back threes in the first quarter over Dyson Daniels to kind of get that confidence up, by the way, 12 points for Shaedon Sharpe in the first quarter, he was really able to put his imprint on the game throughout the contest, leading the Blazers' attack. But the final nail in the coffin for the Hawks in this game comes in the fourth quarter. Now, get ready for some ugly stats in this fourth quarter for the Hawks. They lost the fourth frame 14-29. Yes, they scored 14 points in 12 minutes, shot 4 of 20 from the field, 4 points in the paint, 4 fast break points, and 2 of 16 from 3. They shot a lot of threes in this game, especially in the fourth quarter, and unfortunately for Atlanta, they didn't go in. Now, the Blazers had a decent fourth quarter, scored 29 points, and they were able to shoot 10 of 22 from the field. But a big reason that they were able to pull away in this game was that even when the Hawks' process was good in this fourth quarter, when they got open shots, they just couldn't hit them. They just could not find the bottom of the net. And for a Hawks team that was trying to do this down 2 starters, and with how Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker were playing, the offense just could not come. And this game kind of reminded me of a few weeks ago when the Hawks were in a close game with the Raptors in the fourth quarter, and they started the fourth quarter with like 5 turnovers in 2 minutes. Everything fell apart. While the turnovers weren't quite as bad in this quarter, only 3 of them, the offense just in general just reminded me of how the game kind of fell apart and the Blazers were able to run away with it. Now, this game is actually the final game of the late West Coast games for the Hawks. So earlier post-game videos, I'm obviously a big fan of those. But as we look ahead to the Hawks' next chunk of games, they come home versus Boston and Milwaukee, that game on MLK Day at home against the Bucks. Then they go on the road to Memphis and back home against Phoenix. These next 4 games, and if you include Indiana, they're all winnable games. Boston has definitely had a good season, but there have been times that the Celtics have looked beatable, especially early in the season. They didn't have a hot start, but they've been playing well as of late. But against Milwaukee, against Memphis, against Indiana, Phoenix has been playing well. In 3 out of the next 5 games, you figured the Hawks will be favored in three of these next 5 contests. So hopefully they can bounce back and have a good 2 games at home versus Boston and Milwaukee. But with that being said, we're gonna end the post-game show right there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think contributed to the loss and what adjustments you want to see from the Hawks moving forward. But with that being said, we're gonna end the show right there. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to Hawks Digest, and we'll see you next time. Peace.